Squeaky Mushroom.
Hey everyone, Squeaky Mushroom here. Hope y'all are doing fantastic. I've been doing fantastic. Why? Because I've been playing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game for the past couple of weeks since it first came out. I figured it would be right up my alley considering I've been playing Dead by Daylight for the past 7, 8, 69 years, but I've been getting kind of burnt out from Dead by Daylight, so I'm playing another game. Now, my experience with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise is limited. I've only seen the first movie, although I absolutely love that movie. And the fact that there's a video game based off of the franchise created by the same developers who did the Friday the 13th game is pretty awesome too. And seeing that that game is going to be going offline by the end of this year, I never really got a chance to play it back when it was at its peak, it makes me happy that I can have virtually a similar experience based on what I've been told by people with this Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. And so far, I've been loving every second of it. Compared to a game like Dead by Daylight, I would say it's a lot more slow-paced. It has more of a dense atmosphere to it. There's a lot of detail in the set pieces, and I would say, based on what I see of the maps, it's relatively accurate to the source material. Not to mention the idea of having 3 killers against 4 survivors. I mean, sorry, I'm saying, killers and survivors, excuse me, victims and family members. The idea of having that kind of a dynamic definitely raises the stakes more. Like on the family side, being able to ambush players, it really adds like a different tension to the game. Not to mention Gumpa's there to make things more difficult. Mute me a reason, please! But overall, I've been really enjoying my time with this game. It's definitely felt like a breath of fresh air. Although today I'm talking about something that has been a bit of a discussion going on surrounding the longevity of this game. Like whether or not the franchise itself can carry this game for, say, the next 5 years. Like if this game is able to maintain a player base just based on the franchise alone. There's been this discussion going around that maybe Gun Media should follow in the footsteps of Dead by Daylight and maybe branching out to different franchises to help boost sales and the player base. There's been discussion of the potential that it could bring to bring other franchises into the fold, or at least franchises that are similar in nature to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Franchises like The Hills Have Eyes. I've seen people say House of Wax. I've seen other suggestions like House of a Thousand Corpses, The Devil's Rejects universe, movie franchises that probably took inspiration from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and other various potential crossover ideas. Now I'm here today to try and give my own spin on this because I've been kind of thinking about it for a bit, and to be honest, I feel like it probably would not make a whole lot of sense to branch out to other franchises to include in the universe of this game, because it's already contained within its own universe, and even if there's like other franchises that would be of similar vibe, I feel like it wouldn't really fit and it wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense. People have looked at like the success of Dead by Daylight in comparison, and it's stated that Dead by Daylight has found its longevity through all of the franchises that it's acquired over the years. Ever since the Halloween chapter and onward, with Ghostface, Nightmare on Elm Street, even though people have had issues with that over the years, considering it's not Robert Englund, it's the Jackie Earle Haley one, which, honestly, I think that the Jackie Earle Haley, like Freddy Krueger, I think he actually did a pretty good portrayal of that. I don't like the way that they wrote his character in that movie, though. But anyways, there's all these different franchises that have been included in Dead by Daylight, including Texas Chainsaw Massacre with Leatherface, which arguably I would say has possibly sparked interest in a potential Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, ? I'm not entirely sure. But anyways, there's this thought that if Texas Chainsaw Massacre branched out to other franchises, that it could potentially reach that kind of success. But honestly, I feel like Texas Chainsaw Massacre doesn't have that same kind of flexibility that Dead by Daylight has in terms of like what kind of franchises they could add. You see, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is kind of contained within its own bubble, and even if there were other franchises that were added to the fold here, who would it appeal to? That's what I'm curious about. It could definitely appeal to horror fans and fans of the franchises that are being added to it, you know, whether it's incredibly niche or, you know, incredibly popular or whatever. But the question is it actually possible that it could bring more people in? I think it is potentially possible for some kind of a crossover event to bring more people into the game and continue to spark interest with it. But at the same time, I think there's the other side of the coin, which I'm leaning more towards, where it just wouldn't like bring enough. In my opinion, I think it would probably spark more interest if they were to focus on creating original characters. Now, we already have 2 new characters that were added into the game with input from one of the original co-writers of the first film, Kim Henkel, which I think could potentially open the window for more characters as such. And I think with Kim's involvement with this game, with developing these characters, I think if they were to continue to work with him, it could make this game even more authentic, which this game already has a lot of authenticity to it. From the game's design itself, to the amazing sound design, to the little details and like how it's all structured. It's actually really fascinating just like how much they put into this game, and the fact that they are working with people that worked on the original film. But of course, I think it would be in their best interest to expand, not just with like creating new maps, but also including some new characters too. And as long as they can continue to work with people like Kim, with whatever it is that they potentially make, which we don't have any real confirmation about what they could be doing. There's no roadmaps or anything like that that's been laid out, but ultimately I think it would be pretty cool. Now, I think one of the things that people are worried about with that thought is that there's a massive risk of doing that. You know, taking an original IP and creating new original characters that could add to the potential lore of the universe. I mean, all you really gotta do is just look throughout human history. You're gonna find a lot of crazy fucking stories. And if they're able to accumulate the funds to add, you know, quality of life to the game, you know, fix a lot of the performance issues, because if there's like anything that I have a problem with this game, it has like some performance issues that kind of like suck you out of the immersion. But like if they were able, I think if they're able to, you know, keep a spark of interest with the public with some new original characters that could add to the gameplay, you know, create some new locations, new maps, even though I feel like there is kind of a limited potential for what they could do with like different locations and whatnot, considering where this game takes place. But I do think it is very possible that they could pull something like this off. And like I said, as risky as it might seem, I think it's possible that they could, instead of branching out to different franchises, they could strengthen the franchise that they already have acquired. So more or less, I would like to see something come of this game. I think it has a lot of potential for something that could be much bigger than even Friday the 13th ever was. And apparently they have a pretty good grip on the IP, so I don't think we have a whole lot to worry about in that regard. I mean, considering the whole mess that happened with Friday the 13th, I really hope that this game doesn't get the axe, because it's really good. And in that sense, if this game is successful, imagine what other kind of IPs that Gun Media or any other like studio as such could acquire. I mean, honestly, just based on this game alone, just based on the design of the game, the attention to detail that they put into it to make it as accurate to the movie as possible, or at least the first movie. I haven't seen the other one, so I have no idea, you know, what's the deal with that. But I think about like, you know, other franchises like A Nightmare on Elm Street, for example. Why do I feel like they could probably make a really cool Nightmare on Elm Street game? game. I mean, I think the idea of like a single player kind of campaign for Nightmare on Elm Street would be pretty trippy. I mean, hey, I can even go out on a limb and say that, hey, maybe Team Bloober could do a Nightmare on Elm Street or something like that. I mean, unless the Silent Hill 2 remake turns out to be poop, I'm totally just pulling that out of my ass. But hey, anything is possible in this day and age. Anything is possible with Biden in the White House. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on that. I am morbidly curious, what do you guys think? Do y'all think there's potential in having other franchises being tagged on to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise to make this game bigger? Or do you think that they should stick with the IP and try and strengthen it as much as possible? Or if you have any other ideas, leave them down in the comments below as well. This has been Squeaky Mushroom. Remember to stay hydrated and wash behind your ears. Take it easy and have a good one.